أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is our last discussion in Ramadan, and we have three more points from the text that we were studying on wisdoms of fasting in Ramadan. So let's continue from there because we have 1 hour-ish. So we have limited time, and Sister Darat is going to push us fast to on fast lane, inshallah. But who is going to read? Okay. Seventh point.
Assalamu alaikum. Seventh point. In the letters 29 flash. Sorry. Seventh point. One of the many instances of wisdom in the fast of Ramadan with respect to man's gain and profit who comes to this world to cultivate and trade for the hereafter is as follows. The reward for actions in the month of Ramadan is 1,000-fold. According to Hadith, each word of the all-wise Quran has 10 merits. Each is counted as 10 merits and will yield 10 fruits in paradise. While during Ramadan, each word bears not 10 fruits, but 1,000, and verses like Ayatul Kursi, thousands for each word, and on Fridays in Ramadan, it is even more. And on the night of power, each word is counted as 30,000 merits. Indeed, the all-wise Quran, each of whose words yield 30,000 eternal fruits, is like a luminous tree of tuba that gains for believers in Ramadan millions of those eternal fruits. So come and look at this sacred, eternal, profitable trade, then consider it and understand the infinite loss of those who do not appreciate the value of its words. To put it simply, the month of Ramadan is an extremely profitable display and market for the trade of the hereafter. It is an extremely fertile piece of land for the crops of the next world. For the growth and flourishing of actions, it is like April showers in the spring. It is a brilliant holy festival for the parade of mankind's worship in the face of the sovereignty of divine dominicality. Since it is thus, mankind has been charged with fasting in order not to heedlessly indulge the animal needs of the instinctual soul, like eating and drinking, nor to indulge the appetites lustfully and in trivialities. For by temporarily rising above animality and quitting the calls of this world, man approaches the angelic state and enters upon the trade of the hereafter. By fasting, he approaches the state of the hereafter and that of a spirit appearing in bodily form. It is as if man then becomes a sort of mirror, reflecting the eternally besought one. Indeed, the month of Ramadan comprises and gains a permanent eternal life in this fleeting world and brief transient life. Certainly, a single Ramadan can produce fruits equal to that of a lifetime of 80 years. The Quran stating that the night of power is more auspicious than 1,000 months is a decisive proof of this. For example, a monarch may declare certain days to be festivals during his reign, or perhaps once a year, either on his accession to the throne or on some other days that reflect a glittering manifestation of his sovereignty. On those occasions, he favors his subjects not within the compass of his laws generally, but with his special bounties and favors through his unveiled presence and his wondrous activities. He favors with his especial regard and attention those of his nation who are completely loyal and worthy. In the same way, the all-glorious monarch of 18,000 worlds, who is the sovereign of pre-eternity and post-eternity, revealed in Ramadan the illustrious decree of the all-wise Quran, which looks to the 18,000 worlds. It is a requirement of wisdom, then, that Ramadan should be like special divine festival, a dominical display, and a spiritual gathering. Since Ramadan is such a festival, God has commanded man to fast in order to disengage him to a degree from base animal activities. The most excellent fasting is to make the human senses and organs, such as the eyes, ears, heart, and thoughts, fast together with the stomach. That is to withdraw them from unlawful things and from trivia, and to urge each of them to their particular worship. For example, to ban the tongue from lying, backbiting, and obscene language, and to make it fast, and to busy it with such activities as reciting the Quran, praying, glorifying God's names, asking for God's blessings for the Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, and seeking forgiveness for sins. And for example, to prevent the eyes looking at members of the opposite sex outside the stipulated degrees of kinship, and the ears from hearing harmful things, and to use the eyes to take lessons and the ears to listen to the truth and to the Quran, is to make other organs fast too. As a matter of fact, since the stomach is the largest factory, when it has an enforced holiday from work through fasting, the other small workshops are made to follow it easily.
Jazakallah khairan. So, what's your initial takes from the text? It is talking about Ramadan having like being a time where the same worship in a normal time versus in Ramadan is going to get more rewards. What does that mean? Like if you were to recite Quran in, I don't know, Rajab or in Muharram versus reciting Quran in Ramadan, why is Ramadan more rewardful? What is the point? What does that even mean? How can we relate to that? And how is that related to fasting? Because in here, author is apparently making a connection between why does the creator put extra reward in Ramadan and how this is connected to fasting. I think this is the gist of the topic. But do you see the relationship between the two? But before that, are you okay with saying that in Ramadan, actions are more rewarded? Are you okay with that, or do we have any questions about that? Yes.
I guess, to be honest, sometimes I don't really feel a difference between like an act of worship during Ramadan versus an act of worship outside of Ramadan.
Mhm.
It feels like I'm doing the same thing, but I guess the point is to be more God conscious and like to be more aware of what I'm doing during Ramadan and using that as a time to not just like unconsciously go through the motions of praying and making dua or saying dhikr, but to really understand what it is I'm saying and what it is I'm doing, like why I would even want to do this, I guess. And I guess for me, one thing that I experience is that when I see things like these actions are worth more in Ramadan, that makes me want to do more for more reward. I guess initially. And so I don't know, that kind of seems like it detracts from the God consciousness aspect, because if I'm being invited to seek a big reward, then I'm just going to try to do more. But I do see that sometimes as I'm doing more, it's seeping into the moments outside Ramadan. Like alhamdulillah, each Ramadan, if I like try to do more, whether or not I'm in a state of God consciousness, I don't know. But I do see things like carrying over like to the next year. So I guess there is that maybe benefit that even as if you do a lot, like maybe you can't reach the same level, but some things carry over and slowly increasing. But I guess so that's more of like the quantitative aspect, but maybe the quality of it isn't good.
Yeah. And at this point, we are trying to make sense of it, right? So in the verse, it is said that Laylatul Qadr is like 1,000 month. So if you do the math, it sounds like one action that normally you would do if it is one reward, in Laylatul Qadr, it's going to be 30,000 reward, like quite exponential of an increase. But where does this number come from? How can I relate to that? Is it just some arbitrary number out there? Because that night is hidden. You don't know that night, when that night would be. Like, what is the point of this apparently mystical way of explaining things? Like, rather than just making it, I don't know, like there are some cults that make up mystical things just so that because it's mystical and it's interesting, right? But when all-wise creator mentions such a thing, what is the point behind it? Is there a point behind it? Yes.
I guess I was thinking, is this so that you keep trying your best? Because I was thinking of like farming and a farmer. Not every season is gonna give you fruits, but to get fruits, even the idea, because there could be droughts, there could be other thing that prevents you from actually having that fruit that you planted, but you work really hard to make sure that everything to your best ability is laid out perfectly, so that in case it rains and in case things go the right way and you're blessed, you do receive that at the end. So I think about it that way, is that there's no guarantee that that farmer is going to get his, like, whatever hard work that person thinks that they put in, they're going to get the efforts of it. But if you don't, you really don't know, then it's a guarantee that you don't have it. But here they're supplicating. So there's a chance that if it does happen among those, that they do catch it.
And people in this room are professional students, right? Everybody went through quite a bit of an education. So if you consider syllabus of a class, what does it sound like? So the teacher says there's going to be 10% for attendance, and then there's going to be 20% for assignments, and then 30% for, I don't know, midterm, 50% for the final exam. Some numbers like that, right? But what is the point? Why is there such a grading scheme that the teacher gives? Is it just like some arbitrary numbers that they're putting in there, or is there a wisdom saying that final exam is going to be 50% of the grade, midterm is going to be 30% of the grade? Like, what is the rationale behind that? Why is not final exam 10% and attendance 90%, and I don't know, showing up once is 110%? There's a point, right? Because the idea is you are accumulating information over the lectures. This is why attendance is 10%, saying that don't miss that. Attendance to the lecture is important. And then says, midterm, we covered half of the topics. And then I am putting this milestone over there so that you put efforts. Like, if the teacher doesn't explicitly say 30%, probably more than 80% of the students wouldn't pay attention. Like, if only we were living in an ideal world and we don't need to give grades to students and everybody do their work properly, right? But we are humans, and we do need somebody to threaten us or encourage us with those numbers. It's just how we function, how we get education, right? So that's why the teacher says 30% for the midterm. Then by the time we come to the final exam, we covered way more topics. Then the teacher says the grade is going to be 50%. So what do? You study more for the final exam. You're increasing it. Answering the same question in the midterm is going to count 3 points. Answering one question in final is going to count 5 points, because it is covering more of accumulated knowledge that you covered throughout the term. That's why the teacher would say the term is like a marathon. Like, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So gradually start working, putting efforts. And by the time you come to the final exam week, there are no classes, right, in here. Even they don't want you to get distracted with classes. So there's no classes during the final exam week. Everybody focuses on studying for the exam. Even people don't sleep or properly eat or anything. Just practically how we prepare for final exams. Ramadan is the same. So in Ramadan, the Creator is saying that Actually, it starts with the 3 months, shuhur salasa, like the Rajab and Shaban, like this invitation is there. So, but by the time we come to Ramadan, as how Prophet encourages it, seek for the Laylatul Qadr in the Ramadan. Then he says, seek it in the second half. Seek it in the odd days. Seek it on the last 10 nights. And maybe 27th night. But he's just giving us some direction, saying that throughout the Ramadan, you should be studying, trying to make sense of why do I live? Why am I here? Why am I aging? Why is life not going all good? Why sometimes things are going bad, sometimes they are going good? Like, I didn't ask to be here. I ended up being here. Why? Like those questions, who put me here? And where is it going to take me from and put there? Ramadan is the time to have those questions. This is why he says, don't fast. So don't eat. Just focus on studying. During this time, like going back to Sister Zarin's comment, during this time, focus on studying. Worship in this case is really questioning yourself. Where did I come from? Where does my food come from? And then increase the dose of it, last 10 nights with tahajjud and whatnot. Again, this is all like what is worship in here? Because sometimes we get the notion of bad student. What is a bad student? Bad student is a grade hunter, just trying to get 90 or 100 as a number, whatever it takes. But that type of a bad student would do what? Actually, this last term that happened, a student came after the final exam, 1 week after the final exam, and said, I forgot everything about your class. He passed the class, but he says, I forgot everything about your class. This is a very bad student. Like, he got the grade, but this mentality is not a proper student mentality. Instead, what should have it been? These numbers are just markers for me so that I can orient myself. How much effort shall I put? They're like guidelines. Take them as such. The point is for you to learn, not to get that number. How does it apply when it comes to religion? I say, oh, giving this on Friday is going to count 5, so I should give it on Friday. And on Ramadan, it counts 50. Ooh, let's wait until Ramadan, 50. And as if like there's some sort of a number sheet that I have, and at the end I'm going to sum it up and pass the class. But did I learn? Like, did I digest what I'm supposed to get from this giving charity, doing prayer, reciting Quran? Like, did I get the message? So this is how I think author is now connecting this idea of reward being more in Ramadan with fasting. Because by fasting, you're really freeing yourself from other businesses, which makes you busy, which occupies your mind, just like you free yourself from other stuff in the finals week. You don't play computer games, you don't play soccer, maybe even you're neglecting your gym. You do, no? During the finals week, because this is the time you would like to focus on that. Do the same with Ramadan. Because this is the time with cleaning up any rest of the schedule, opening up space for being conscious. How much we do that is what we need to study, work on. This is the part. But at least taking it as such, seeking Laylatul Qadr becomes so wise. Like, making it hidden is so wise, because if you tell the student when the final exam is going to be, students just wait 2 days before it. But if you say, most likely at the last week I am going to make it, but whichever day. If there's class Monday and Wednesday, I can make it Monday or Wednesday. But I can also make it in week 10. Student now needs to be always vigilant, which makes it a better education, rather than somebody memorizing it last night, writing somewhat of an answer, getting a B or C, passing the class. Still better than nothing. But the point of motivating us for worship in Ramadan with those numbers is basic human nature. This is why the creator of human nature suggests this to us. Make sense? Assalamu alaikum. Come in. Okay, any other comments, questions about 7th point? If not, we can go to 8th point. No objections? Very good. Okay, we are at the last 10 nights. Sister Zareen, 8th point.
8th point. One of the many instances of wisdom in Ramadan from the point of view of man's personal life is as follows. It is a healing physical and spiritual diet of the most important kind. When man's instinctual soul eats and drinks just as it pleases, it is both harmful for man's physical life from the medical point of view, and when it hurls itself on everything it encounters, whether licit or illicit, it quite simply poisons his spiritual life. Further, it is difficult for such a soul to obey the heart and the spirit. It willfully takes the reins into its own hands, and then man cannot ride it. It rather rides man. But by means of fasting in Ramadan, it becomes accustomed to a sort of diet. It tries to discipline itself and learns to listen to commands. Furthermore, it will not invite illness to that miserable, weak stomach by cramming it with food before the previous consignment has been digested. And by abandoning even licit actions as it is commanded, it will acquire the ability to listen to the commands of the Sharia and the reason, and so to avoid illicit actions. It will try not to destroy his spiritual life. Moreover, the great majority of mankind frequently suffer from hunger. Man, therefore, needs hunger and discipline, which train him to be patient and forbearing. Fasting in Ramadan is patient endurance of a period of hunger that continues for 15 hours or for 24 if the pre-dawn meal is not eaten, and it is a discipline and training. That is to say, fasting is also a cure for impatience and lack of endurance, which double man's afflictions. Furthermore, the factory of the stomach has many workers, and many of the human organs are connected to it. If the instinctual soul does not take a rest from activity during the day for a month, it makes the factory's workers and those organs forget their particular duties. It busies them with itself so that they remain under its tyranny. Also, it confuses the rest of the organs in the human body with the clangor and steam of the factory's machinery. It continuously attracts their attention to itself, making them temporarily forget their exalted duties. It is because of this that for centuries those closest to God have accustomed themselves to discipline and to eating and drinking little in order to be perfected. Through fasting in Ramadan, the factory's workers understand that they were not created for the factory only, while the rest of the organs, instead of delighting in the lowly amusements of the factory, take pleasure in angelic and spiritual amusements and fix their gazes on them. It is for this reason that in Ramadan the believers experience enlightenment, fruitfulness, and spiritual joys which differ according to their degrees. Their subtle faculties, such as the heart, spirit, and intellect, make great progress and advancement in that blessed month through fasting. They laugh with innocent joy in spite of the stomach's weeping.
Jazakallah khairan. Yes, we read the 8th point. Any comments in regards to what was mentioned? No comment. People are hungry. Okay. Jazakallah khairan.
Just Assalamu alaikum. Just one thought that arises, and I'll voice it, is, this passage, this point seems to emphasize the place of how fasting cultivates discipline, and patience. And these points at the very beginning of the treatise, the author mentioned that they are wisdoms of the month. So I understand that. But, in one sense, one could say, well, going to the gym also cultivates discipline and patience. So how do I approach the cultivation of these virtues in a non-earthly, let's say, manner? Or how do they connect me to my purpose, to my creator, such that it's not just something that's, oh, it's nice to have these, and look, that patience will help you also work up the ladder in the corporate world and, so on. So that's just one.
Very nice question. What do you think, folks? Gym goers, what do you think? So how is the discipline that Ramadan or fasting gives you different than the discipline that gym gives you or running gives you or whatever? not to pick up on anyone, but just, of course, if disciplined people speaks, it's better. Yeah.
Oh, I actually am not sure, to be honest, because I mean, I guess like you get used to one, like when I'm thinking, I guess from like the stance of running, you're thinking of what it can give me. Like I'm chasing a specific euphoria, like you're used to running, and if you don't do it, there's a sense of like you're more sad actually if you don't run. So it's kind of a weird addiction, but I think this month is also maybe in itself a different kind of addiction that you're seeking. Maybe that's beneficial for you. But I guess in terms of what it offers, I think it can offer something similar. It just depends on how you get to it. Because I feel like some people may get discipline from other avenues, such as working out, while others can get it in the specific month. But it's very different because I feel like not eating is very different than just running, where your whole body has to. Hunger is a bigger test, I feel like, than physical exertion, because you can go and eat and fulfill that need. Like it's an instant thing. You're like, okay, for 1 hour I struggle, then there's a break. But this is like a longer endurance, so you kind of have to time it more. So I think it's harder, but similar to me, at least similar.
And in terms of its outcome, since the urge for discipline is also different, would it make a difference? For example, if Brother Abdurrahman was to try to discipline this little Ibrahim over there by shouting at him, versus trying to still discipline him in a more humane way. Like, would it make a difference on this little kid? Would the outcome be the same? Or probably they would be disciplined in both cases, but we will have raised a psychopath in one and a proper human being on the other end. Or, I don't know, like when I discipline myself with my own self-will, I am saying that I am going to have a good shaped body. And then I go to the gym. Each time I go to gym, what increases? Because the body starts getting into shape and I start getting self-confidence. Discipline, yes, but self-confidence is increasing. Or same thing you can apply for applying a diet. Maybe you were overeating at some point and you said that no more eating after this point for health reasons or for appearance reasons. And then I really cut eating. And 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, and my friend started noticing it and saying that, oh, you start looking good. What sort of an outcome would come from here? Self-confidence, right? In fasting, though, what is changing? In fasting, I do not eat, or I not only for the words or for the mouth, but for my speech, for my hearing, for my sight, as he mentioned. I do fasting with everything because the command is coming from the owner of the mouth, owner of the eyes, owner of the ears. So the outcome of success is not going to be self-confidence in this case. Outcome of success is going to be offering thanks, being thankful, saying that, oh, my creator mercifully commanded me not to eat, and then granted me those beautiful outcomes as a result of me abstaining from eating, abstaining from speaking bad and whatnot. So my thanks or appreciation of my creator increases, not my self-confidence. So this is why fasting in Ramadan, because it's a command of God, is different. Like let's say your atheist friend, let's assume Sister Sarah is not here, but like there is a atheist friend, and they're, let's assume, roommates or office mates. And the friend observes, says that, oh, this looks very healthy and good. This Ramadan, I'm going to be fasting with you. I am 100% convinced that there's no God, whatever. Yet, I'm not going to eat for the entire month just with you. Just I want to experience it. Okay, this is the mindset. Would that person, what sort of an outcome this person will get? So it's going to be self-confidence, saying that, oh, when I want, I can stop doing it. When I want to eat, I can eat it. So fasting is with a command. So it makes a huge difference. Any comments from Brother Abdurrahman? No? I mean, there's this nice smile over there, so I feel like something is proving, but not much. Okay.
First of all, I can't do anything to him. No discipline, good or bad. I remember, I think it was like the first week we studied, it was about the comments were like, yeah, I realize I don't need coffee. I realize I don't need this or that. And I remember Brother Become was like, made a comment like, you know, we have to be careful. Are we saying, oh, I'm getting more powerful, I feel more confident, powerful or something? I think looking at it from a different light, I think that's the same kind of idea here. One, I could look at as, oh, I'm training myself. I'm actually independent. I'm powerful. I don't need these things. But another way to look at it is I realize that maybe before coffee or these other foods or snacks or things that I was doing, in some way, I was making myself, let's say, a worshiper of them or more like needy of them. I thought they were fulfilling my need and I was asking from them. But then I saw in Ramadan, actually, one, I wasn't needy of them. Like I could stop. If I can stop eating it or doing it and I see I don't need it, then that means that I'm independent of it. And I am. I see that actually I was created so I could technically be independent of coffee. I'm not like dependent on it. But I see it the same way. There's something that I am needy. Oh, for sure. Like even though maybe it's not coffee or something else, I see that I am definitely created weak in that I do get hungry. And I am also created weak and I want a source or I want to take refuge in someone or something that can help me. And in Ramadan, I guess it kind of like breaks those shackles of like all these false idols we're worshiping in a sense. It comes in and breaks them. And then we see that, you know, in that, let's say like when everything is broken, that silence, we see, oh, truly my creator, the one who's sustaining me is him, not coffee, not these other things that I thought I was dependent on. So I see who I am truly dependent on. And it's like a very peaceful, serene feeling to see that you have the hunger, which feels like this need, but because of that need, it like kind of kills the other idols that you kind of build up over the year. So I think like there's two ways to approach that and say like, yeah, I'm not needy to these things, but I'm actually needy to my creator. Or you could stop and say, oh, I'm not needy at all, and that doesn't help anything.
There was one point that author mentioned about patience. And he said, that is to say, fasting is also a cure for impatience and lack of endurance, which double men's afflictions. That's an interesting observation, like being impatient or impulsive? And how does being impatient and impulsive is doubling our afflictions or troubles in life? Affliction in here is troubles. So current society is modeled exactly the opposite of that. Like, for example, nowadays, just look at the products that we use every day. Instagram wants you to slide more so that you become impulsive to see the next image. Like after 1 hour of sliding, if you pause and say, just count 5 images that you see. What did I see? Or the most enjoyable thing that I see in the past hour, just 5 of them. Would it come to your mind? I try hard. Many of the times I fail. What did I look at even? Like I have been sliding it, but what did I look at? But each and every time, this infinite scroll, whomever has invented it, is a way to just keep you scrolling more. Fast forward, now we have ChatGPT. You ask a question, it gives an answer and says, would you like me to tell this about? It's a very interesting thing, actually, that you wouldn't like to miss. It's a never-ending conversation. It wants to, because the more you consume, the more money that they will make. So in this way, we become impulsive. We cannot resist to, like, this is how the system is now set up in there so that we consume more, and it's everywhere. And it's being made not too expensive, affordable, because it is just 3 seconds of looking at a picture, or $5, $10. I mean, okay, buying a expensive car, few people do that. But how about, I don't know, buying a today I was at Aldi, and there are small Lego toys, $10, $9.99. It's not a big deal. Just buy it for, if you're going to Abdurrahman's house, I mean, let's take one of them as a small gift. And this is how we have this huge, Mariam today was saying that she needed to go up and down 3-4 times to carry all the toys. Like we have this, I don't know what to call it. It's not a proper thing. It's just like a trash almost of all different types of toys. And this, where is this coming from? And just $5, $10, not a big deal. So we become impulsive, and this $5, $10, 3 seconds, 5 seconds is consuming my life. And I don't have time or energy to spare for relevant things in my life. So fasting is inviting to fix this problem. Am I aware that how much an Instagram post is taking away from my life? So making or becoming conscious about this. I mean, we are coming to the end of Ramadan. If you would like to do Instagram fasting for the remaining part of Ramadan, you're more than welcome to give it a try, or whatever you are using as social media. So in this regard, it will help me, just like I quit everything during the finals week. It could help me focus more. Brothers are more tired than sisters. Okay, mashallah. Good. So let's go with the 9th point. Or is there any comments or questions before we go with the 9th point? Yes.
I guess I was wondering, like starting with the finals week example, they often also recommend to take like breaks here and there. Like you may be giving up things to focus on studying for the final, but then they're like, you shouldn't be constantly doing this because you'll get tired, and I don't know, maybe it's easier to get distracted if you don't have these like set breaks. And I guess even with Ramadan, I hear, you should pace yourself, like don't tire yourself out too much doing like a lot during the first part of the month and then not have enough energy for the last part of the month. So I was wondering, like, thinking about that, like, I guess we talked about it being a steady, like, build up, but like, how should I actually like put into practice like fasting from other things? Because I don't know, sometimes if we have something that we need to break away from, it's hard to just like cut completely. I don't know. Yeah, cold turkey. Yeah.
Yes. Any suggestions? How do you guys handle this gradual increase in Ramadan? At least theoretically, how can you do it if you're not practically doing it? Any suggestions? Sultan is already sleeping. Okay, so getting some breaks as such, I guess. Ad blocker. Ad blocker. Okay, practically put some ad blocker so that ads are not going to disrupt your YouTube experience. Ad blocker. App blocker. Okay, okay, app blocker sounds better.
I think it just happens. Anyway.
Somebody break my
Harder than it looks. Oh, okay. I think it just happens. But it starts with the awareness first. And it starts with a lot of actions and then failing. You start it and then you don't commit to it and you start over and you start over. But the thing is, it starts with the awareness. And you're not going to be hard on yourself first, because let's say, oh, I'm not going to use Instagram anymore, or I'm not going to drink coffee anymore, or I'm not going to watch TV anymore. But guess what? It sounds fine and exciting at first, but then you break that promise and then you should not feel bad about it. You just you are aware of it, that something needs to change, and you just are aware of it. That sparks the passion, if it makes any sense. And one day, literally after failing so many times, one day you just know that, oh, actually you are ready. Now you can fully commit to it. That's what happened to me. Like me not using certain social medias for months, that's kind of unheard of. So when I told my friends, they were laughing about me because I was trying to commit to it for like about a year. But one day I just woke up, you know what? I think what just happened was one day I realized that I spent, it was one of my him and me downtime, and I realized that I spent about 4 hours on social media. And admittedly, I was like, shoot, I could have done so much more useful stuff for myself that night. I could have taken a walk. It was a beautiful day. Or I could have read some books that I was planning on reading in, or I could plan all my business ideas, Instead, I was on denial and I was trying to avoid other problems. So I was trying to relocate my problems and try not to think about it. Instead, I focus on Instagram, or not just Instagram. I'm still on Instagram, but other social medias. What I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not spending so much time anymore on it. But just because you don't commit one time doesn't mean that you should quit entirely. Like, one day you become aware of it, and then the passion starts, and then you're like, oh, I can't do without it. And then you start building up new hobbies and new passions. I don't know if it answers your question, but there is no formula to it. You're just gonna become aware of it. You just commit to it and then break it. Don't feel bad about it. Just start over.
Thank you. Good. And also in terms of Ramadan, there's an interesting thing. After making you gradually work harder and harder, one day after the end of Ramadan, you're commanded not to fast. Like the Creator says today, if you fast, I'm going to come after you. So it's more like a graduation ceremony that's happening right there, saying that, okay, whatever you took from this month-long marathon, now retain those qualities for the rest of the year. For the rest of the year, I mean, here and there you can do fasting, as prophetic practice was there, but just as a reminder, as if something similar to you took the class, and then once in a while you go and open the book and remember what the topic was, like just as a refresher. For refreshers, you don't spend too much time. You just look at it, oh, then you remember. So that's why in prophetic practice, Mondays and Thursdays he was fasting. So this keeping this consciousness awake for the rest of the time. So in this sense, really, it's Ramadan is like a boot camp. So you really dedicate yourself, focus on it. But as you said, you cannot, like, it's not sustainable to do for the entire year. This is why at the end of the month, the creator invites you to celebrate. And then in Shawwal, like you're suggested to fast for 6, and then going lesser and whatnot for the rest of the year. So it's very beautiful to see that religion is really designed by someone who knows humans so well. Because this is how you would do with a class. Looking at a syllabus, like my syllabus for my favorite class, other professors are thinking that I am too aggressive. Like they say, our students are not there. You're not aware of who you are teaching to. Like such a criticism is there. It's not fitting your audience. But Ramadan, or the religion, the creator of human, is designing the religion, really. So in this regard, it's really fitting human predisposition. Shall we go with the 9th?
Ninth point. One of the instances of wisdom in fasting in Ramadan with regard to shattering the instinctual soul's imaginary dominicality and making known its worship through pointing out its impotence is as follows. The instinctual soul does not want to recognize its sustainer. It wants its own lordship like Pharaoh. However much torment it suffers, it retains that vein. Hunger, however, destroys it. Hence, fasting in Ramadan strikes direct blows at the soul's Pharaoh-like front, shattering it. It demonstrates its impotence, weakness, and want. It makes it realize that it is a slave. Among the narrations of Hadith is the following. God Almighty said to the instinctual soul, "What am I and what are you?" The soul replied, "I am myself and you are yourself." So he punished it and cast it into hell, then asked it again. Again it replied, "I am myself and you are yourself." However, he punished it, it did not give up its egotism. It did not give up its egoism. Finally, he punished it with hunger. That is, he made it go hungry. Then again he asked it, "Who am I and who are you?" And the soul replied, "You are my compassionate sustainer, and I am your impotent slave. O God, grant blessings and peace to our Master Muhammad, upon him be peace, and that will be pleasing to you, and fulfillment of his truth to the number of the merits of the words of the Quran in the month of Ramadan, and to his family and companions, and grant them peace. Limitless in his glory is your sustainer, the Lord of almightiness, exalted above anything that men may devise by way of definition. And peace be upon all his message bearers, and all praise is due to God alone, the sustainer of all the worlds. This is from verse 37, Surah 37, 182, 182.
And this is from narration. Something specific about fasting in how to educate, how to discipline human ego or instinctual soul's imaginary dominicality. What do you think about that? Does this resonate with you? Yes.
So is there a difference between an affliction and something being deprived from you? Like something, you're afflicted by something, like when the author says, so he punished it and cast it into hell versus hunger. I'm trying to understand what's the difference. in both cases, aren't you deprived of something? But is it specifically talking about like something that, like hunger specifically? I don't
I think
understand.
that is a figurative explanation in the tongue of the Prophet ﷺ to compare, like you can endure fight, you can endure beating up, sort of. But human soul is not that enduring when it comes to hunger. Especially for like being obstinate, let's say. Somebody is just keep beating, as like in torture chambers, what they do, they keep beating people, give electricity to them, like this sort of different tortures, as if, at least this is what I understand from this hadith, saying that for human is made so that hunger is really making teaching you who the boss is, pretty much.
Context of for killing your ego, right? Because if somebody's beating you up, like in both cases, if I'm trying to understand it as like what is the self being afflicted with, then it's pain in both cases. But one is training to recognize the creator, whereas the other still is feeding into like the sense of self and a prominent version of that.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. Any other comments? That's a interesting part to focus on. I didn't give that this much of a thought on it, to be honest. So what is different in if somebody were to, I mean, I don't know if it's correct comparison, but on human's ego, going through hardships in life versus hunger in life, like which one gives a more sustainable message to train my ego? Yeah.
I was just thinking that you can't avoid hunger. Like I can avoid my problems. I can find other avenues to avoid my problems and life struggles for the most part, even if they're happening and there's recognition. When it applies to me specifically, I can still escape it, let's say. But hunger, how am I going to escape it? The only way to escape it is through solving that thing by eating food. So I think that's the clear difference, is that one, you can most likely find other avenues to temporarily escape food, though there's no other way.
That's a good point.
I was actually gonna say through like hardships, I feel like it would be easier to convince myself that, oh, I am the one who is like trying to solve, like work my way up in life, like overcome these problems and like make something of myself. So lots of eyes like going through hardship, whereas with hunger, I feel like whoever is giving me the food, like I'm so grateful. Like the first bite after breaking fast, it's like, thank you. Like that's the immediate reaction. And so I feel like hunger, like the state you're in with hunger, it's just like I'm really needy and I need food. And whoever's giving me that food, I am very grateful to you. Like, that you're giving me what I really need in this moment. And it's not me. I can't make an apple out of thin air. Like we discussed this, I think, earlier, like who's actually making like the food and everything that is like perfect for my body to consume. So yeah, I guess I was just thinking about maybe the difference in that way.
Yes.
My question is, how is hunger helping us train? Because if you think about fasting in Ramadan, it's an obligation on everyone. And if a person who does not have food to even eat suhoor or iftar during the time they can eat, they still have to fast. So it's like an additional suffering for them. So how is it training them discipline?
Yes, poor people are also fasting. This was the question. But we touched upon this at the beginning, and I think it was the first week or the second week. So what author was mentioning in there was that was that was a quick rescue. So the point that was mentioned back then was everybody can find someone who is poorer than themselves in some respect. Because there's no like absolute poorness. You might be poor in health, poor in wealth. I don't know. You will find another neighbor, another person somewhere which is poorer than yourself. And fasting is doing the action by command is going to train yourself to realize that I am needy and there's a sustainer, there's a provider. So in this regard, the message is going to be taken, because even if you are poor, you will find water no matter what. Otherwise, you will die anyways, right? So during fasting, you are not drinking water. So this is what's going to give you a message saying that, because if you are driving a luxury car, your car's flat tire is a wake-up call for you, because this is what you take for granted. But if you're a poor person who is able to find water, this is what is you take for granted. In your life, still there is something that you take for granted. And by commanding not to even drink water is going to give you this message. So in this regard, to get the message, like, is it a extra suffering? Like everybody is going through that suffering of fasting during Ramadan, because the outcome is to learn who I am and who I am not. Because not knowing that answer, like not knowing who I am and who I am not, is the source of many of the troubles we have in life. Today we were studying from Surah Yusuf. Then two prison friends come and ask Yusuf alayhi salam about their dream. They saw some dream and they say, oh, can you tell us the interpretation of that dream? Yusuf alayhi salam says, I'm going to tell you the interpretation of the dream before the food comes. But then changes the topic immediately and starts talking about a sustainer, how his people were on the wrong path, and brings the topic to creator and afterlife and eternal life. Because this was the problem in their lives. Although they thought their problem was a dream, he says, no, your actual problem is not knowing who your sustainer, who your provider is. This is the source of your trouble. Because you're trying to, like, as if you feel like you're abandoned in this prison. Let's go with that example. You're abandoned in this prison. You're forgotten. Or you're going to die. But what does he bring to their attention? The solution to that problem is you have a sustainer, you have a provider, and there's afterlife. The whole education is for a purpose. It's not pointless. So it's not that if you save the day, if you get out of the prison, you are good. That's not the message. You focusing on that is your problem. So he's teaching them the proper way of looking at the events. Coming back to fasting. In fasting, I might be poor, but still I have water. My creator takes away that water for a part of the day, saying that, Yusuf, although this is your only thing in life, still you are relying on it as if it gives you sustenance. It is source of your life. Like, it is just a matter of scale. Somebody losing their car versus somebody losing their water. It's just a matter of scale. The outcome is the same. Still, the person thinks that sustenance comes from water. Sustenance or comfort comes from car. So in this regard, the poor person needs to be taken away water. The rich person needs to be taken away sometimes with a flat tire or something. The message is being delivered the same way. So in this regard, I am not sure if poor person suffers more in Ramadan than a rich person, because the message is the same. In their life, the scale of water versus not eating anything is the same, and the outcome is the same. So it's not that poor has nothing to lose anyways. No, they do have things to lose. Water, for example. Or, I don't know, it's not only, as it mentioned, you should be fasting with your tongue as well. Don't curse. Don't look at illicit things. Or even don't be together with your wife. A poor person who is married, like there are many things that is being restricted. What is the point? The point is to make you realize who I am and who I am not. Because mixing the roles is the source of our problems. We think that we can, especially in this age, help self-confidence, right? You can do it. No, I cannot. Like in this life, I am such a needy creature, which fasting teaches me. And because of this false self-image, I try so hard, I can achieve, I can do it, I know, I believe in myself, type of an attitude. We try and try and try. Inevitably, we fail. And then this is why we are being in so much issues, like getting into stress, we are messing up our psychology and whatnot, like the life itself becomes a trouble. But this is why the poor needs that, the rich needs that. The message is needed to be there. So even if it's water, yeah, not drinking water, not being together with your wife, this is a necessary message for everybody. It's a means to get the message. And everybody has something in their life that fasting cuts it off. Make sense? Any concluding remarks? Yes.
Maybe another difference that came to my mind was when you're suffering a difficulty in your life. From our perspective, when that difficulty is lifted, we're maybe grateful at best, but we then think, okay, now thankfully that's gone. Now I can go back to my default state. My default state is everything is fine. And my life just goes on. But when you're deprived of food and you're fasting, there's no denying that your default state, if you're left to your own, is basically death, like suffering. You have nothing. You have complete weakness. So through the fasting, you realize that actually, my reality is that I'm weak. My default is that I am weak, and I'm being given things constantly. I'm being sustained constantly. So on my own, I don't have any of this. It's not like something is just being, lifted from me and I'm getting like temporarily, I need some assistance here or there. The reality is actually that on my own, I don't have anything, and I will suffer a complete loss. I will struggle. I will go through pain. I will even face death. I cannot, I have complete weakness. So the only way that I'm surviving is through that sustenance, through that help. It's almost like the more extreme way of thinking about it is if like my breath was taken away from me. It's being given to me. It's being processed by my body in every moment in a way that I'm not capable of doing it. But if that was just taken away from me, then I would realize that it's being given to me. It's not something that I'm capable of providing for myself. So I think similarly, that's a function that fasting can have, is realizing that we're being sustained constantly.
Jazakumullah khairan. And with that, let's conclude Ramadan, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة